Finished training for the day? Time to fight post-workout fatigue with Core Power Protein Shakes. They're packed with 26 grams of high-quality protein to build muscle and electrolytes to help hydrate. The nutrition you need to help your body replenish, rebuild, and repair post-workout so you can power on to the next one. Champion your recovery with Core Power. Visit corepower.com to learn more.
The family that vacations together stays together. At least, that was the plan. Except now, the dastardly desk clerk is saying he can't confirm your connecting rooms.
Wait, what?
That's right, ma'am. You have rooms 201 and 709.
No, we cannot be 5 floors away from our kids.
The doors have double locks. They'll be fine.
When you want connecting rooms confirmed before you arrive, it matters where you stay.
Welcome to Hilton. I see your connecting rooms are already confirmed.
Hilton, for the stay.
We're being good boys for some Iron Ladies, and we're swearing at Tron Ares. I'm Van Connor.
And I'm Adam Ball, and this is Off Screen, your 7-day guide to everything movies.
Boom.
Hello and welcome back to Off Screen. We are back with a plethora of movies to look through with Van today. We're going to look at I Swear, Good Boy, Tron. How do you pronounce the second part of that? Tron.
Ares. Ares, the god of war.
Is that how you spell it? I thought it had an I.
Yeah, Ares.
Oh.
No, it's just A-R-E-S, yeah, Ares.
Oh, okay. Well, that's my education, obviously not up to scratch. And also, we're going to look at Iron Ladies. But as always, myself and Van are going to go through the box office top 10 for the UK and how it's looking right now. So we'll start at 10. Avatar, The Way of Water. 1 week, 254 grand.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember back in 2019 when Marvel released Avengers Endgame? And for about 5 minutes, it was the highest grossing film of all time. And then I think that happened in the summer. And then by Christmas, ahead of the next Avatar movie or what? Oh, no, it was Titanic. They re-released Titanic in IMAX. And of course, everyone went to see it because it hadn't been out in cinemas for a few years. And that pushed the box office up just enough that it then became the highest grossing film of all time. And then just before Avatar 2 came out, they re-released Avatar 1. Then Avatar 1 became the highest. This is just a James Cameron thing. This is just the latest round of that. So Avatar 3 is about 2 months away. About 2 months now. I think we're about 8 weeks away from sorting a screening, I think, for Avatar 3. Is it Fire and Ash or something like that? So it's not surprising it's out. I saw it twice on the big screen. Did you see it on the big screen, the second one?
No, I haven't even seen it yet. No, because I heard so many people say, "Oh, it's just like the first one, just slightly different story." I thought I can't be bothered.
Okay. Avatar 2 is Avatar 1, but wet. That's basically
There you go. There's my answer, and that's exactly why I did not pay to go and see this movie.
Yeah. It's not a bad movie, but it's exactly as good as the first one. So your mileage will vary depending on what you think of the first one. You know what I mean? You don't need me to tell you what Avatar 2 is any good, because odds are most people listening to this will have seen it. Number 2, another one I think most people who are going to see this will have seen it, but it's hanging in there. Bad Guys 2, which is now 11 weeks old. Yeah. Do you know what? It's still good. My opinion hasn't changed. I love this cast. I love the story. I love that it's basically an adult movie just dressed up for kids.
Everyone else is loving it as well. It's nearly made 14 million.
14 million quid now. It's how long? Its most recent weekend, it made just over £250,000. That is pretty good for a movie that is nearly 3 months old and is not like a big top tier IP. I'm a fan. Good for them.
Yeah.
Number 8. We didn't get to talk about number 8 because this was out last week. We didn't have a show last week. Him, which is basically Satanic Whiplash. Produced by Jordan Peele. And you know how Whiplash was the movie about drumming? This was that if it was for the NFL. Like the guy trying to be recruited for the NFL just getting tortured by this mentor figure. Only instead of it being J.K. Simmons, it's like a top tier unhinged Marlon Wayans of all people. It's Shody from the Scary Movie series. Because every time he comes on screen, I hear his voice in my head screaming, "Damn son." Every single time he comes on screen. I thought it was quite fun and really interesting and cool, and a lot of people kind of took against it. I think a lot of people found it a bit too abstract for them. I didn't, but I had a similar experience this week with another one of the new releases, and I'll get to that when we review it. But it's one of those things where it's like, can you not read this text? Is it okay? I thought it was straightforward but sure. Number 7, The Long Walk. This is the Stephen King adaptation where the guy, you have to walk, and if you stop, you die. If you stop, you get shot.
Yes.
Yeah. Hunger Games, but for hiking.
I like the principle of this. When we reviewed this, I really liked the principle of it, actually. I thought it could work.
I keep trying to find the time to go and see it like a second time because Faith really wants to see it. So it's one of those things. We'll go and see it. We have one from this week that we're going to review later on that we want to do that with as well. But I thought it was very good, and I quite like the cast in it. Cooper Hoffman, who is Philip Seymour Hoffman, not Dustin Hoffman's son.
Yes.
So, yeah. A very good cast. And, big fan. Big fan across the board of it, to be honest. I particularly like Mark Hamill as the sort of dystopian dictator. I thought that was a neat touch. Number 7 is a Bollywood movie, Kantara. Oh, sorry, no, it might be anime. Kantara, A Legend, Chapter 1. Not a clue. Not a clue. I did see K-pop Demon Hunters recently, though. Not exactly the same thing. But,
I want to know if that's any good. I keep being nagged by the kids to watch that.
It's all right. The kids will love it. Kids will love K-pop. In fact, let's talk about K-pop Demon Hunters for a moment rather than... K-pop Demon... Kids will absolutely love that. And you'll probably find it actually pretty engaging when they're not doing the musical numbers.
Yeah.
Which just grind it to a halt, and they just do it so often. I also have serious issues with some of the plot mechanics and like the real-world logic, like not the real world, but their internal logic of things, because they seem to contradict their own rules an awful lot. But you know what? It's not for me. It's for like a 10 to 14-year-old girl, is my guess. And I can only imagine, well, I don't need to imagine, based on the reaction of every mum of daughters that I know, they are all mums and daughters alike swept up in this. So, and it's a chart topper, and I think you might like a few of the songs, actually, to be fair.
I do like a bit of cheese, and K-pop's quite cheesy, I think, isn't it?
It's basically what if you crossed Buffy the Vampire Slayer with Josie and the Pussycats.
Yeah.
is basically the premise, but it's kind of animated by the Spider-Verse guys. Anyway, that's a nice way of saying that we know nothing of Kantara, A Legend, Chapter 1. Number 5, Conjuring the Last Rites, or The Conjuring Last Rites. Not a great sequel. Really phoned in, this one. I expected better of the mainline Conjuring series. It doesn't really deliver on the chills in the way that any of the series before, or even the spin-offs, I think, have. And I think it's kind of a limp finale. So, are you a fan of The Conjuring? Have you seen any of them?
The first one. I loved the first one. Yeah, I loved the first one. I just have a problem with sequels. I don't know what it is. It's like, it's something in me that finds it really hard to watch a sequel.
Oh, well, now I need to start badgering you to watch The Raid 2.
Oh, here we go again.
I look forward to your review in 2030. So.
Yeah, don't hold your breath, Van. That's all I'll say.
No, I'm going to hold my breath because I managed to wear you down after 5 years on The Raid. So I'm going for The Raid 2. I will get a review out of you by 2030. Number 4 this week, The Smashing Machine. The Rock does Rocky Light. And you've seen this 1,000 times before. To be honest with you, Miles Teller's version of this, Bleed for Me, in about 2017 or 2016, thereabouts, was more memorable than this. This just feels like money for old rope. In this case, the rope tied around the ring. Or octagon, in this case. I just wasn't a fan of this. I can see what he's trying for, but it feels really patronising. It feels like if he'd done this a decade earlier, it might have felt something vaguely novel, but this just feels really forced. Kind of like within and without the Rock brand. Without the Rock brand, you're like, okay, what's so impressive about this performance? The only thing that is impressive about it is that it's the Rock, and even then, that's him being quite patronising. Oh, look, I can basically act. Give me money and awards, please. And it feels like that all the way through. The story is not as developed as it needs to be to tell, the particular kind of tale that it wants to tell, which is codependency in a toxic relationship dynamic. And to be honest, it's a little too subtle for its own good in that regard. And again, Benny Safdie, to be honest, is not a sports movie director, and it very clearly shows. He's a hipster art house director. He's not Michael B. Jordan doing Creed 3, who delivered something far more in line with the product he needed to. So, let's see. Number 3, Downton Abbey, the grand finale. I've not seen yet. I've got a link. I've got an awards link to watch this, and I will, because I've seen the other two and I'm a completist. Have you seen the Downton movies? Have you seen either of them?
Never seen Downton Abbey, even though I live very close to where it's filmed. Never seen the Downton movie, and I'm actually interviewing one of the stars next week, and I can't remember what his name is. I can't remember which one it is.
That was my next question. Which one? Yeah. The weird thing is, I've never seen the Downton show. Like, my grandmother was really into it. My aunt was really into it. My mum's still never been into it, actually. But I did obviously review I think I reviewed the second movie. And because I was a completist, when I was going into the second one, I wanted to have seen the first one. And the first one was pretty much exactly what I'd always imagined Downton Abbey would be. And then I saw the second movie. I'm like, actually, this is kind of fun. I'm enjoying this one. The second one I quite liked. And the first one kind of charmed me in its own way as well. But I will watch this. And the only thing about it, I'm not a Downton guy, as I've just said, is even as a non-Downton guy, I don't like the idea. I'm trepidatious about watching one that doesn't have Maggie Smith, Dame Maggie, in there, because she was such a big... She's my favourite part of it. Yeah, she was my favourite part. I'd only seen the 2 movies, and she was my favourite part. Love her to death. Number 2, One Battle After Another. I hated this. I might be the only film critic in the universe that hated this.
Well, people are loving it as well because it's made $6 million in 2 weeks.
Which is unheard of for a Paul Thomas Anderson movie. Like, oh my God, how does that happen? I mean, that won't make a whole heap in the long sense. And we'll not hear about it. Like, come Christmas, we'll all have sort of forgotten it exists, and then we'll get reminded when the Oscar nominations get announced at the end of January. And it'll be a nomination for Best Picture. Doesn't win, but it does get PTA and an award for like Best Adapted Screenplay for the is it Pinchon novel? I think it is. The number 1 this week, though, of course, I haven't seen this. I didn't even know this was an option to review. And I'm not sure which cinemas it shows in the UK. I imagine Cineworld. Taylor Swift, the official release party of a showgirl. Which I'm not really a Swiftie. This is not going to shock you. Are you a Swiftie?
I'm not a Swiftie, but I appreciate her music and I appreciate the fact she's a good songwriter.
Okay, right. First of all, I'm going to object to that last one because I've read some of the lyrics to this because it's doing the rounds on like Twitter. People are just posting their favorite like ridiculous lyrics, and wow, no, because it's way
music.
I don't think Taylor Swift actually knows what a metaphor is. I'm just putting it out there. I don't think she knows what an analogy or a metaphor, what either of those things are. I don't think she does. Anyway, I like Shake It Off. And as the very first time I went to New York, as I was descending as Jake, I did play Welcome to New York from the start of Secret Life of Pets, just to be, extra sort of cheesy and camp about it.
Why not?
I have that Taylor pedigree, but that's it. So I no judgment. I'm sure it's going to make all the money. It made £3.5 million. Cool. Good for her.
As if she needs any more.
Yeah, I mean, what she lacks in sparkle, for me, she seems to make up for in financial finesse, we shall say. So what are we reviewing? First film to review this week, then we've got to get through real quickly.
Iron Ladies, yes. I mean, I haven't looked at this, I have no idea, but has this got anything to do with Margaret Thatcher?
No, actually, yes and no. So this is a documentary about the women of the 80s mining strikes.
Okay. Indirectly, then.
Indirectly, so Thatcher does come up, and believe me, the tone when her name gets dropped very, very quickly shifts, as I'm sure you can imagine. Yes, and that's when So this is a chronicle of the women who were behind the men of the miners' strikes, and in many ways became more vilified and more emblematic of the movement than the men who are there themselves on strike. And they became trailblazers. It is said in the documentary that this became the vastest politicization of women in Britain since the suffragette movement.
Wow.
Which is actually an interesting take that I had actually never considered. I'll get to it in a moment, but I'll play you a clip first. So this is the documentary. It's called Iron Ladies.
It's changed my life, definitely for the better.
I would have never done what I've done in my life if it's time to be for strap.
Had it not been for the women, the strike would have ended months before.
What were we going to do? We're going to sort of take a forelock, yes ma'am, or fight. And the choice was to fight.
I went in an old women's picket line. They put in and they were hitting you, and they were kicking you on your shins. We realised now, we were going to get arrested.
Now, obviously, there's a really sort of serious part to this, but watching the trailer, I want to watch this just because of all the archival footage of the 80s, because it looks amazing.
There's some great footage in there, and there's a lot of home movies and things like that the families have taken of these women in action, and news footage from the time, and archival interviews, for instance, with certain prestigious political figures of the era. I thought this was both fascinating and quite moving. But also not without, and it's a very Yorkshire thing. Because I'm from Sheffield originally, so I grew up around a lot of women who were like this, and obviously my family is largely female. So I've a billion aunties who were these characters, and I love this film. I really loved it. It really immersed you in not just the politics of that era, but it really sold you on the mindset of that era. Not just as far as the political ideology of it goes, not just in selling you that, but also just the mindset of how the day-to-day psychological sort of wandering through that went, and how that felt, and how there's a wonderful story, for instance, about the support that came in from different countries in Europe, like France and Germany, who supported the miners, sent care packages over and food and Christmas presents, things like that. And the two stories you get off that are, for instance, were told by, in the broadest Yorkshire accent imaginable, you were opening a can every night and you never knew what it was you were going to be eating. And you're like, okay, and it's just, we used to have a lot of fun with it. We used to call it like mystery dinner and things like that, and how the kids had more presents that Christmas than they had at any other Christmas in their lives, even though they were on the worst times financially. But also the day-to-day struggles of having to motivate both the husbands to be on strike, whilst they at the same time are picketing, and then the anger against scabs and the victimization by the police in that era, who targeted women in a way that they just did not target men. All of this is delivered in a way that, like I say, is quite fascinating, informative, emotionally investing, charming, and quite funny at times. So I call this an all-round win. I was really sold on this. I thought this was really inspiring.
Well, you've sold it to me because you've made me really want to watch it now. Iron Ladies.
Yeah,
there you go, yeah. Iron Ladies is in cinemas from today if you do want to check it out. Right, we're going to move on to Tron Ares in just a minute. We'll see what Van thought to that next.
Wish you could become a morning person? You know the type, up before the sun, early morning runs, first one to the office with donuts and a smile. How do they do it? Easy. With the new Galaxy Watch 8, sleep tracking and personalized insights from Samsung Health help you improve so you can wake up to a whole new you. One who, dare I say it, skips the snooze? It's possible. Train your sleep with Galaxy Watch 8. Learn more at Samsung.com. Requires compatible Samsung Galaxy phone, Samsung Health app, and Samsung account.
ABC Wednesdays. Shifting Gears is back.
He has arisen.
Tim Allen and Kat Dennings return in television's #1 new comedy.
What?
With a star-studded premiere including Jenna Elfman, Nancy Travis, and...
Hey, buddy!
A big home improvement reunion.
Welcome.
Oh, boy.
That guy's a tool.
Shifting Gears. New Wednesdays, 8/7 Central on ABC. And stream on Hulu.
Hello and welcome back to Off Screen. We've still got a couple of really, really interesting movies that I'm keen to know what Van thought about to look at. Good Boy and I Swear in a moment. But out of all of today's, I think this is the one I really want to know what it's like, because on paper, it looks like it's up my street. Tron Ares in cinemas from today. Looking at Van's face, I have a feeling I'm going to be disappointed.
So I'm just going to ask straight off the bat. Okay, so first of all, you are in your mid-40s? Just
early 40s.
Early 40s. We are both then in that early 40s.
Yeah.
What is your experience with the Tron franchise, like within your life?
I saw the first one, not the second one, and I think that's probably why interest is peaked on the third one.
Okay, so how old were you when you saw the first one?
Oh, blimey. I think it must have probably when it came out. So what year was that?
82, so...
Oh, okay, it wasn't. I would have been about 7, 8, maybe?
Okay, fair. Okay, so I didn't see it until I was in my teens. It didn't blow me away when I was in my teens. But I was a big fan of the second one, because I was just out of uni and it was very up my alley. It was basically a Daft Punk music video that just happened to have a plot. Okay, so Tron Ares, which is 15 years on the back of the last of the Tron movies, is effectively a sort of an onboarding point for newcomers, in a sense. So if you know nothing about Tron, the idea is, in theory, you come onto this because it's all new characters in this established world. But we'll get to that. So, okay. So you have two computer companies. You have Dillinger Systems, run by Evan Peters, and you have Encom, which is run by Greta Lee. And Greta Lee is a big believer in both companies are racing to try in this sort of arms race to try and bring AI constructs into the real world, to basically materialize them using nanites that are effectively 3D printed. Supports included if you're a 3D printing nerd. That was a weird touch. Yeah, I saw that. I thought, oh, wow, someone on the staff actually is a 3D printer. That's quite cool. Anyway, so the limitation that they have is that when they print like an artificial creation, like an artificial soldier or an artificial tank, it crumbles to dust after 29 minutes. And so the race is on to find this unique form of code that was written by Kevin Flynn, a.k.a. Jeff Bridges, at some point around the time of the first Tron, and whoever has this code can install this, and I swear to God I'm not making this up, permanence code, that's what it's actually called, into the AI system, and it makes everything real. And whoever does that will change the world. Okay? However, Dillinger Systems is using this new state-of-the-art AI security system called Ares, played by Jared Leto, which they keep bringing into the real world and using to lead these, printed soldiers. And he starts to gain sentience and realize that he's actually not a person, that he's completely expendable. And he starts to develop feelings and what seems to be a soul, and winds up teaming up with Greta Lee to track down the permanence code and violate his corrupt commander's evil wishes to print and rule the world, or whatever it is. It's quite hazy. But I'll tell you what, I'll give you Evan Peters as Dillinger introducing Ares.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like you to meet Ares. This is the most sophisticated security program ever written. You want to shake his hand? Go ahead. He doesn't bite. Ares has billions of lines of code unique to him. Is it alive? That depends on your definition, Stuart. Because unlike you, he's biblically strong, lightning fast, and supremely intelligent. He is fully proprietary and 100% expendable. Ares is the ultimate soldier. He needs no food, no water, sheds no blood, and if by some miracle he is struck down on the battlefield, I will simply make you another.
I'm a bit confused because surely, by the pure definition of AI, if it was real life, you'd be able to say to the AI, can you change this so that it doesn't crumble after 29 seconds?
Right. I don't even, first of all, that's not even among the top 50 problems with the logic of this movie. And I can come at this from either angle for you. I can come at this as someone who at least knows Tron Legacy very well and hazily remembers the original. I'm sure you could come at it the opposite way around. And I could come at this as a non-fan. And coming at it as a non-fan, I think is the least interesting version. Because I was in a room full of non-fans. I was in a room full of influencers in the IMAX screen at Cineworld to watch this. And my group of friends, we all overheard them, some of the conversations that were had around us. And we were left with absolutely no illusion whatsoever that we were in a room full of not only non-fans, but people who I don't think had ever actually heard the name Tron before. Didn't know what a light cycle was. There actually was a giant physical light cycle in the room, and I think they thought it was a banana boat of some kind. Like, it was the weirdest. It was like watching seals try and fight over a grape. It was the weirdest thing. At one point, two adult women walked past a video screen that had Jeff Bridges on in Tron, and they said, "Oh, look, it's the Big Lebowski." And I went, "Well, first of all, it would be the dude, and second of all, that's Jeff Bridges. That's Starman. Put some respect on his name, son. Goddamn." Coming into as a non-fan, this can only be an absolute incoherent mess, because despite the fact that it's all new characters, it has nonsensical volumes of calling back to earlier movies, to the previous ones. At one point, literally taking its third act to the actual physical space of the first movie. in a way that I think they thought was going to land as a way bigger crowd moment than it actually did. It didn't get much of a reaction in the room, and you think, you're looking at it thinking, I'm sure they wanted that to get the Avengers Endgame's portal reaction, that kind of response, but it really didn't. Like, this is not Wesley Snipes turning up in Deadpool. Like, that's clearly what you're driving for in this moment. They don't get it. They don't get it at all. Same thing when Jeff Bridges makes his inevitable cameo, which is slapped all over the marketing. That's clearly meant to be a big crowd-pleasing, everyone cheer moment. But it's delivered with such an absolute absence of life, which another one I'll get to in a moment, and has already been plastered all over the actual literal tickets that you used to walk in the screen, in our case, that you start thinking, what is the big shock here? Jared Leto, and this is painting with damned praise, this one. Jared Leto makes for a surprisingly good, soulless, dead-eyed artificial intelligence. But that's a lot like saying that a broken clock is right twice a day. I can't say that it's particularly well directed, because every single time they do any of the grid sequences, there's no distinguishing mark whatsoever between the background, the foreground, and the thing you're supposed to be watching in the middle. It makes no logical sense whatsoever. Apparently you can blow up most of the inside of any of these systems with physical explosives, but nothing happens to the outside of it. Which, again, I don't quite understand that, because you show us the exact opposite earlier in the movie. But okay, sure. It's that sort of storytelling. That's as a non-fan. Okay, that's me as a non-fan of Tron. Okay, so that's me doing it as if I'm one of the influencers in the room, which were about 98% of the audiences. And incidentally, guys, if you could put your goddamn phones away for 1 hour, 59 minutes, at any point in your lives, an entire room full of people might appreciate it. All right? Thanks. Right, here's me doing it as a fan. This is abysmal. This is god-awful. At best, it is an attempt to simply replicate the formula of the previous movie in the exact same way that this exact director did the same with a Pirates sequel. Let's simply repeat the formula, no more, no less. No room for creativity here. Jared Leto, although he does work very well as a soulless, dead-eyed AI, is still a complete charisma vacuum in the same way he was in Morbius. And I do mean that sincerely. Yes, he is Morbius-level bad here, but because he's playing Commander Data-like dead soulless android, fine. The attempts to tie this into the universe, but at the same time bringing back literally literally only one, in fact, and even then it's not actually the same character, literally not bringing back a single character for the previous canon, yet endlessly referring back to it and expecting us to remember minutiae from a movie from 1982, a movie that is 43 years old, is literally insane. You cannot have one and the other. You cannot have the non-fans and the fans. What you are doing here is the RoboCop remake problem, where you've already told the existing fans of the 18-rated product, hi, this is a PG-rated 13 thing that's not for you. But at the same time, we're shoving it full of references that only RoboCop fans are going to get. That is exactly what you've got here. And the problem is the film is not particularly interesting about it. Tron Legacy was a very predictable rehash of a sort of the previous film, in that way that rebootquels of that decade were. This, however, simply seems to view that as the formula, and just wants to do the same thing again. The only problem is, without any of the charisma, the cool, the style, and the vibe that made Tron Legacy, to say nothing of the fact that you actually had an engaging, charismatic lead in Garrett Hedlund. R.I.P. Garrett Hedlund's career, by the way. I miss that guy in movies. Tulsa King represent. Without any of that, what you're left with is crap. Crap with a half-decent soundtrack. Like, give it its dues, because the Nine Inch Nails soundtrack kicks ass. Like, have you heard any of this?
No.
Oh, no. Get this on later. When you're chilling later, put the Nine Inch Nails soundtrack to this movie on Spotify. It is fantastic. It's woefully out of place with this movie, because, like, the Daft Punk one worked because it was, a really cool album to a really cool looking movie with a really cool vibe. Here you've just got crap with a good soundtrack. It doesn't quite work. It's like you've got a really bad video to it would be like if you added the larger than life music video the Backstreet Boys Larger Than Life music video.
Good tune, that.
Right. But if you just added that video of that caliber to anything the Nine Inch Nails made in the 90s, imagine that. That's the comparison.
Yeah.
There you go. I personally would not recommend this movie to really anyone. If you are a Tron fan, wait for streaming. If you're not a Tron fan, go, but prepare to be confused and bored. And the only people I can think of alive who'd really sucker for this, other than, kind of the Disney board, who I presume really want this to do well, and don't want to wait 15 years to make another one, are presumably the exact sort of person who'd become a willing victim for Jared Leto's cult. Which is to say, someone incredibly gullible and someone just willing to sucker for Jared Leto. Other than that, I would unplug this, de-res it, ignore it, send it to trash.
Well, if you do want to take the risk and go and see it, you can, because Tron Air is in cinemas from today. We've got 2 movies left. We're going to look at Good Boy before we finish today. But next, I feel we're going to be looking at something quite emotional. It's called I Swear, and we'll see what Van thought of that in a second. Hello and welcome back then to Off Screen. We're going to look at Good Boy in a second, but we're going to dive straight into I Swear, which is in cinemas from today. All I can gather from this and the trailer is it's a docudrama, right? So it's got like real truth.
No, it's based on a true story, but it is a full narrative biopic,
right?
Effectively, so it is the biography, the true story of a real man. Now, I will get to that real man in a moment because it's something that crept up on me, and I was so blown away. I'm like, oh wow, kind of about it. But it's the story of a young man, John Davidson, who's played by Robert Arameo, I think his name is, and he would be known. Apparently, he is in I think it's the Lord of the Rings TV show as Elrond. Another Amazon Prime Rings of Power series. He has the Hugo Weaving role, the leader of the elves. Him. He's young Sean Bean in Game of Thrones during the flashbacks, weirdly as well, because that's where I recognised him from. Okay, so he is John Davidson. We are introduced to John when he's in his early teens, when he first starts secondary school in the mid-1980s in Scotland. And he develops, at an quite impressionable age, like 12, 13, he develops Tourette's syndrome. But this is in an era in which people have not been made aware of Tourette's syndrome. It's only just been diagnosed for relatively recent times. It's only just been diagnosed. So he's treated as a problem child because the schools simply don't know how. They've not seen it before. They don't know. And so we then jump ahead about 10 years into the 1990s, into where John has now become, I keep going to call him Robert, John is the name of the actor. John is now in his early 20s and is just simply left at home with his mum. He can't really hold down a job because, again, the world doesn't know how to handle him and how to respond to him. And he reconnects with an old friend one day, just randomly at the supermarket, and he meets his old school friend's mum, played by Maxine Peake. And the mum is a woman who's struggling with her own battle with cancer, but he's trying to keep a brave face and sort of takes him on as a sort of a project and gets him a job. She basically blindsides him. If you know the Sandra Bullock movie, The Blind Side, she effectively blindsides him. Like she tells him to move into the spare room in the house with his mate and the husband, and we'll find you a job and we'll get you some education. We'll see about getting your own place and moving you on with your life, because she has experience working with these conditions, like in her past, like prior to this battle with cancer. He gets a job working at a local community centre under the auspices of a very curmudgeonly Peter Mullen. Like in that way that only, because I've said to you before, a movie can only be so Scottish before Peter Mullen is obligated to show up.
Yeah.
This is that movie. The movie reaches a certain level of Scottishness and then Peter Mullen simply shows up. It literally happens. See also nearly every movie to come out of Scotland for the last 30 years. Right. And this relationship between the two develops, whereby Peter Mullen encourages John that the problem isn't actually him. It's nothing he does, and it's not his condition. It's that the world doesn't know about his condition, and that the only way to improve his circumstances is to improve the world's knowledge of his condition. So you can imagine where this story is going to go. It spans a couple of decades, takes you right up to, I think, just before the pandemic. It's bookended with a sort of a pre-pandemic kind of a bit. I've got a clip for you. This is a sizzle from the trailer.
It's called Tourette syndrome. I say things that I shouldn't. What can you do?
If you do anything here that you can't help, you never apologise.
Tommy, this is John. He's come to have a chat about the vacant position.
Right, I'll give you a rundown of the place.
Give me a in my hand. For fuck's sakes.
Can you make a decent cup of tea?
Oh, I am good at tea. Are you for milk? Are you okay with the ticks and the swearing?
What ticks? What swearing?
We need to get you out, man.
I can see he's off the medication.
I'm so sorry, pal.
I'm so tired.
This is the thing with a movie like this. So I started to watch a documentary about Tourette's about, I don't know, 5 years ago maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to stop it about 10 minutes in because the story started with a kid that went to bed fine and woke up the next day with Tourette's. And I sort of felt like if I watched this documentary, it's going to tell my brain that I have Tourette's and I'm going to wake up tomorrow. And now I'm a radio presenter. Don't go together too well, Tourette's and a radio presenter.
There's an Oscar-winning, there's a Best Picture-winning drama in that story. I actually hope there's a Best Picture-winning drama out of this story, to be really fair. When you said you watched a documentary, now I am willing to bet, I would bet folding money, that even if the primary subject of that documentary wasn't, then at least a secondary or tertiary subject of that documentary would have been John Davidson. Because, and this is the part that blew my mind, I did not put two and two together when I sat in the screening room and watched this. I saw this in an evening a couple of weeks ago, about nearly a month ago now, I think, with Faith. And we'd seen the trailer before something we'd seen in the actual cinema. And then obviously the press show came up. We made sure we really want to see it. There was a good trailer. You've heard the sizzle there. You're like, okay, that looks really charming and funny. We'll see that. It is charming and funny. I'll get to it, but at the end, they tell you this, like the true story when they say, well, the real John Davidson, blah, blah, and they show you a picture of him. I was like, I know that man. Why do I know that man? And it dawned on me, there is a documentary, the very famous documentary on Tourette's is called John's Not Mad. It's from, I think, 1987. It's a BBC-made documentary. And that is how the British public primarily, initially at least, learned about Tourette's syndrome was through this documentary. It was a really famous documentary. It wound up getting a video release, and I think eventual DVD release and everything. You can still find this on Vimeo and YouTube. And they made follow-up documentaries. They made one in the late 90s, one in the 2000s, and about every 10 years, they do a fresh version of this documentary. They get John Davidson back, and because in 2019, he got an MBE for this, which is what the film is sort of bookended with. You can vaguely imagine what happens when you put him in front of the Queen, by the way. Yes, exactly what you think. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. And yes, it brings the house down. But yeah, really charming. I loved this movie. I laughed and I cried. And I emotionally connected with this in a way that, in that very unique, specifically British way, even though this is Scottish, I know it's Scottish-English comparison here, but in that uniquely British way that I felt about The Full Monty.
Oh, okay.
It had that kind of an effect on me, where The Full Monty was a film that had formed an emotional attachment with you, regardless of whether or not you were from Yorkshire, worked in steel, or were unemployed. It was just a story where you found the emotional stakes, and it had that tether, but it balanced the comedy and the sadness in a way that palpably hit right. This very much does that. Like, very, very much. And he's down to wonderful writing, great performances. And I can't praise the performances enough. Like I say, Peter Mullen, like, there's that, I make the joke, a movie has to be so Scottish. But that kind of, that unfairly implies that Peter Mullen is not terrific. Peter Mullen is amazing. I will watch Peter Mullen in any film, any show. I will watch Peter Mullen. Like, honestly, if you want to get me to watch K-Pop Demon Hunter sequel, cast Peter Mullen in there. Send him to Scotland so that Peter Mullen's obligated to appear. You know what I mean?
K-Pop Scottish Demon Hunters.
Yeah. Scot-Pop Demon Hunters.
There's a movie waiting to be made.
It'd be better than the Irish equivalent, Kneecap Demon Hunters. But anyway, however, the big star of the movie for me, I mean, obviously, I think people will get the most heart out of Maxine Peake as the sort of Sandra Bullock of this particular Blind Side, but it is Robert Aramayo as John, he's perfect here. He's such a great performance, and you immediately find yourself being dragged into the inherent tragedy of this guy in a way, like, because obviously he's recast when he's younger. The performance is quite a seamless transition, but the way he portrays the toll that having lived with a decade of it, at least when we sort of first see I lived with a decade of it, it's brilliant. I think he's wonderful, and I guarantee you, come BAFTA time, I guarantee you, mark my words, like he's in there for Best Actor for BAFTA. Maybe not an Oscar, like maybe not. I don't think this will cross over that way, but I guarantee you, because of the cultural attachment of people of a certain age, and they make up the BAFTA membership to John Davidson, and also the quality of this performance, I guarantee you, folding money, this gets a Best Actor BAFTA nod for Robert Aramayo. He's brilliant in this. Like I say, it's just a wonderful, heartwarming, emotionally wrenching film. And of course, very scary for obvious reasons. We had to use the trailer reel. We had to use the trailer reel only because I tried doing a clip for this. There were about 4 available. They were just bleep, 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 bleep.
Obviously, I mean, that makes sense. But, I mean, you've sold it. Another one that you've sold to me today, and I really like the sound of this, actually. And if it is going to win all these awards, let's get in now and see it.
I think as well, it's the kind of thing... It's one of those films that I actually think like has a purpose being shown in schools. Because it kind of curtails that childish sort of interpretation that Tourette syndrome is inherently, primarily a funny disease. It's something to be mocked. Here, you've got a film that actually does explore the actual side of living with Tourette's, but at the same time does allow you like to have some fun with the character, like alongside that character. Like he specifically tells you at one point, because you don't make fun of it, but it is a funny disease. Because like it's actually it's worse not to do that. The thing is just to find the level. And I thought that was a really great message for what I already thought was a really great movie. So I do recommend this. I'm going to go and see this again tonight, like genuinely. I'm actually off to the Odeon tonight to see this again. Because it's been a month since I've seen it, and I've been doing like plugs for this all week. And I'm just like, oh man, every time I talk about it, I feel like that lump in my throat appear when I start to think about it too much. I'm like, no, I'll go and see it again. Please, just let me live.
Did they get Boys to Men to do the theme tune?
Sadly not. No, actually it's not. It's not. Oh no, is it? I'm thinking of. Oh no, why have I been saying Aswad all week? I'm thinking of Shine. Aswad sang Shine, didn't they? And was Boys to Men that sang I Swear. I think
Boys to Men sang I Swear.
You were absolutely right. I've been saying Aswad all week. Thank God I haven't done that on radio. Oh man.
Well, now you know. I mean, that was a failed attempt at a joke, but actually it helped you out.
Well, do you know what? Now I need them to reissue the 1995 Jeffrey Rush movie Shine, don't I? So that I actually have an excuse to say it's sadly not the Aswad biopic. But, yeah.
Well, if you want to check out I Swear, you can, because that's also in cinemas from today. Right, we've got one more movie to look at. We're going to see what Good Boy was like with Van in just a second. Stay where you are.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Big news. Sephora is now on Uber Eats. So if you find yourself facing a beauty emergency, like needing a last-minute gift, or you're just out of your favorite mascara, again, don't panic. We got you. Order now and get $10 off on Sephora orders of $50 or more on the Uber Eats app. Order now. Offer ends October 30th. One order per customer. Additional terms apply. See app for availability. Delivery fees may apply.
Hello and welcome back for one last ride then on Off Screen. If you do have a pet dog, you might want to cover his ears right now just so that he doesn't get a little bit scared, because we're going to look at the movie Good Boy, which is out in cinemas from today. And it's about a dog that spots ghosts, I think.
I mean, not a million miles removed from the reality. Okay, so this is an experimental indie horror film from Ben Leonberg, who's also, I think, co-written this with Alex Cannon. And it stars his dog, Indy, okay, as himself, as a fictional version of himself, right? The movie is literally from the point of view of the dog. It follows the dog. So what you've got is a sort of Amityville-like setup, where the dog's owner, who is fighting his own battle with cancer and seemingly losing, he and his dog venture out to, inherited from Grandad farmhouse in the middle of nowhere. And before you know it, the floorboards are creaking, the doors are sliding open. But the gimmick of this horror movie is we follow the dog. So, it's the camera goes alongside the dog. Everything is shot so that you don't really see a human being from above the shoulders, sort of a thing. It's that kind of an idea. Now, we've not got a clip for this because the dialogue in this is actually fairly at a minimum, because it's like everyone's talking in the background and things like that. And it's what do you say to your dog? You don't really convey exposition to the dog. So this is 72 minutes long, this film. This is an hour and 12 minutes long. And I can tell you that there is actually, and this, it doesn't stop 5 minutes before the end and there's just titles, credits over a black screen. It carries on over the credits. It's just, there is sort of some of the story, the epilogue of the story takes place over the end credits, for instance, such as it was. So we get 72 minutes literally following Indy the dog as he faces what seems to be the Amityville horror. Friday the 13th, if you will. There we are.
Oh dear!
I've been trying to think. I've been trying to think of dog horror puns for the last 24 hours. As best I came up with. I've had a lot on, but I do think this is actually really something. Every year around this time, we get a unique, quirky, experimental horror film. For instance, last year we had Strange Darling, which I was a very big fan of. You remember that was the one told out of sequence. Did I think I told you to watch that, didn't I, at the time?
I liked it. I really loved it. That was the one with the car chase at the start, wasn't it?
The one which told sort of out of order. Every year we can look forward to one or two really good, fun, experimental indie horror films around this time. We also had the slasher movie POV one last year. This year it's the dog one, and I'd argue this actually firmly stands alongside, particularly the slasher one, which I can't remember the title of now. Was it in a Lonely Place or something like that? But I really like this. The weirdest thing about it, first of all, it is scary, despite the fact that I think it's rated 12A. It's a PG-13 in the States. I'm not sure if it's a 15 here or a 12A. But it's one of those films in which you don't particularly see gruesome things. There are very effective jump scares. Believe me, I sat next to a young woman genuinely jumping out of her skin. I share a postal address with her. I won't name her. I'll only tell you that we share a couch and kettle. Yeah, I won't name her though, but she was terrified, this young woman. Absolutely mortified all the way through.
Brilliant.
She couldn't read the subtext of it for toffee. I have to say that, because this is what I was saying earlier about people being unable to read movies with him. And this is one of those where I don't think this one's really subtle with what it's actually telling you. At the end, if you're not very good at reading a movie, you'll get to the end of this and be like, I don't know what actually happened there.
What, so you mean there's hidden meanings to the whole thing?
No, it's not a hidden meaning. It's not a hidden meaning at all. I was sat there watching it thinking this is the most glaringly obvious visual thing I've ever seen in my life. And honestly, at the end of the movie, I just it just didn't go anywhere for me. I'm like, what are you talking about? You do understand that the demon was... Yeah. I don't...
I have a feeling if I watched this with my other half, I'd be getting the same questions.
I honestly, it was one of those moments where I honestly wanted to cut to the Garth Marenghi clip of I know writers use subtext and they're all cowards. I wanted to get to that clip. But I thought this was great. Honestly, the atmosphere of it, the way it's constructed around Indy, you never feels like a gimmick. It's surprising how quickly that wears off and you simply run along with it. And it works. The performance, weirdly, that they get out of Indy, who is director Ben Leonberg's own dog, by the way. He's not like a professional actor dog that they've hired in. They've managed to get the director's actual own dog to do this, and it's a real performance.
That's quite impressive in itself, to be fair.
It might be the actual best character performance ever delivered by a dog, which sounds like a weird thing to say, but that's a real thing. So there you go. Good Boy. It's a good movie, and it does in fact star a good boy and good actor. So I don't know what else to say.
Well, I mean, this definitely sounds like one to just go to the cinema with on a bit of a date, Saturday night. Go for some food. Go and watch this just for the pure hell of finding out what this is all about. That's how I feel about it.
By the way, when the trailer for this dropped, apparently this I think it was the second most popular search term on Google became "Does the dog die in Good Boy?"
Really? See, everyone loves it. Everyone loves an animal.
Yep, there we are.
Well, if you want to check out Good Boy, you can, because that's also in cinemas from today. Movie of the week. I've got a feeling you're going to go with I Swear, but I might be wrong.
It's absolutely I Swear. I think I Swear is brilliant. I'll be honest with you. It's one of those. It's top 10 of the year stuff. I Swear. I think it's easily this year's Full Monty, like this year's answer to something like the Full Monty. But to be fair, we haven't had anything like that in a very long time. There are attempts. I think we had the Army Wives Choir one like 2 years ago. That was arguably one of the closest ones. We had the one about the Miss Universe pageant in London, Keira Knightley. That came close, but no. This is my new Full Monty for me. I absolutely love I Swear.
Well, let's have a quick look at what we've got coming up for next week. We are going to look at The Twits.
Yes, and it's the one you think it is.
Yes!
Yes, it is an animated adaptation of The Twits being made by Netflix, a full feature-length film. And
amazing.
Right, here's a question for you. Who would you cast as Mr. Twit? The voice of Mr. Twit in an animated movie.
Who played? What's his name? That played The Mask?
Jim Carrey?
Yeah, I reckon Jim Carrey.
You reckon Jim Carrey?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, could not be further from the reality. Johnny Vegas.
No.
It's Johnny Vegas, really.
Really?
It's.
Oh my god! I mean, I could see how he'd be good at it, but I wouldn't have gone to him first.
Actually, that kind of works in a strange way. I can't wait. I love The Twits. It was one of my favourite stories when I was a kid. I love that book. We've also got After the Hunt, the new Nicole Kidman one with Ayo Edebiri. That looks to be that was quite a festival baby this start of this season anyway. That looks to be quite a taut thriller. Good Fortune. This is one I've been really looking forward to. This is the one where Keanu Reeves is an angel. And he has to help. Yeah. This is the Keanu Reeves as an angel, but he's not a very good one. He's kind of a loser angel comedy with Seth Rogen and Aziz Ansari. And Aziz Ansari has written and directed it, which I'd argue may not be a good thing. And also, I feel like as a culture, we're not discussing certain things anymore. But that separate the art from the artist, sure. And of course, Black Phone 2 is out next week. The Black Phone, if you remember, about 2 years ago, I thought was an awesome movie. 3 years ago, now it was 2022, I think. It was an awesome.
I can't remember it.
That was one where Ethan Hawke had the white mask. He was the grabber, and he abducted young boys from the streets and locked them in his basement. They had like a disconnected payphone that like previously kidnapped boys would phone him from.
Yes, okay, I do vaguely remember us talking about that.
Well, now there's a sequel, and it's it's maybe worth lowering some expectations. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, we'll find out what Van thought to all of those, of course, next week once he's got to see them all. That's, of course, all we have time for this week on Off Screen. We will be back next week. Until then, I've been Adam Ball.
I've been Van Connor. Keep it cinematic, and we shall return.
This podcast is part of the Mercury Network. To find your next favourite show, like mine, 5 Random Questions, visit mercurypodcast.com now.